Alright, so what we're going to do today, welcome to Nose Kentucky Heartland Art. You can find me at Art by No anytime that you're looking for me. I am Doug No. So today we're going to do a little more work on the cross. I'm going to be working on this joint area back here because, you know, the old Roman crosses, they weren't made together. The post that was in the ground was permanently mounted in the ground, and it was notched out for this cross member that Christ carried. So we're going to make it look like it's got the rabbet joint that was in there, and so we'll make the gaps in here, and then we're going to do start on some highlights. And before we get to that, I'm going to go in here and add a little more into the sky, because in a natural sky it's always darker at the top than it is at the bottom, and since I got some highlights on the stones, I want it to look like dusk and not just a big black sky. So that's what we're going to work on now, and I hope you enjoy it. But we'll see how this goes, and just watch along, and we'll make it appear even more realistic up in that sky. I'm not going to make it bright sunny sky because this is a nighttime picture, but what I want to do is get it to where, let's pick a spot here, get me some ultramarine. Make it dark, but not super dark. It's going to go from almost black down to just kind of that highlight of maybe something coming up over the horizon there. Oh, excuse me. I wanted a nice dusky feeling. And then after we get done with that, when we come back into the sky, we're going to make a few, break up this little boulder line, even though it's real minute. We're going to make it look like there's a little more of a realistic breakup of the atmosphere back there. And we'll be using this blender brush quite a bit. Okay. Because I don't want this to be heavy marked. I just want it to be raised up into the atmosphere. Let's make it a little easier for you all to see. Without my camera syncing, me and my phenomenal camera work here. So as you can see, it brings it a little bit of light. I'm not looking for it to be a whole lot of light in here. It's going to look a little brighter at the beginning because it is wet paint, and it's going to take up the lights in the room. So you're going to see the shine off of it right here. But once we get it dried and get it blended in together, you won't be able to see that so much because it'll lose its new oil shine. And I'm not putting anything on heavy, because if I put it on too heavy, it's just not going to look right. You just want to be a little bit brighter in these dark paintings down at the surface level, just to match up with the natural occurrence in nature of what the atmosphere does. So you can see it brings a little more, it shows more where that line is on horizon as well. So it helps define the picture a little bit more. Let's get you over here. Every once in a while you want to step back at a distance and take a look. See, I'm not looking for a big, huge change. I just want to be able to see a change between the two. Just take this blender brush, and all I'm doing is smoothing out any areas that might have too much paint. Now, I'll bring you guys back so you can see what this looks like from here. So, as you can tell, just by adding that little bit of ultramarine, and I put some raw sienna in there, not raw sienna, but burnt sienna in with it, because I wanted to keep it a little bit dark. Okay, but you keep it a little brighter down along where the ground and the sky meet. Make it darker as it goes up. It doesn't have to be much of a change. There's not much ground there to change on, so it's not going to be a huge change. But that mimics when you go outside and you take a look at your horizon, even during the daytime. You can see it's brighter down towards the ground than it is up high. And that's because of the atmosphere. So you want to make it look as much like the atmosphere as possible without, taking away from your painting. If you see what I'm talking about. Now, let's start in on some of this cross, and let's get zoomed in here and get you positioned up. All right, now clean this brush out. Oils don't dry fast, but just like when I do dishes, I like to do them when they're still fresher. That way it's easier cleanup. Now, a lot of artists tell you not to always clean out your brushes. To a point, I can understand that. I like to keep mine clean, so I don't pretty much follow in with that. But you can. If you're using colors over and over again, and you're moving just slightly in colors, just take that same brush and just add whatever it is that you're going to add it to it. You blend it in with it, and you can continue on. You don't have to keep constantly stopping and cleaning your brush out before moving on to the next part. But I'm going to use that same ultramarine and some raw sienna and just a tad of black to make this really dark. on this section, where I'm going to meet up here with this joinery. Now it's only going to go about halfway, so we're not going to go too much. Well, you'll probably be able to see it if I actually pointed you toward it. So hold on a second. As you can see, right in here is where I'm talking about. It's hard for you to see. There's a lot of light on that. I'm going to bring you all up close and personal. So that you can see a little bit better. See if I can't cut some of this natural light to bring down that glare. I always like a lot of natural light. You know, sometimes it makes these videos. But you can see where I put some dark right in here, okay? About halfway down. Now we're going to make a little thin line. This one's going to be thicker than this one because, you know, there's going to be a cut on both sides. But I don't want the same thickness all the way down. Get this thinned out really good with some liquid. A little thicker than that. Not laying down too much color there. But to make it look like the joinery, you gotta make sure that you offset your two just slightly. You don't want it to be 100% married up, but you don't want it to look so that it's not two pieces slid together. And you can also take it in just a little bit and bring this even further down. Oops, that's what I get for bringing you too close. Sorry about that. I'm going to go a little bit more into this darker color here because I need this to be a little bit more. Hold on. I see the problem. My black dried up on me. It's not coming off. Now, the wonders of different day paintings. Now, you can bring this down and have a little shelf right here about midway, and then if you make a mistake, here's a good example. If you make a mistake in your painting, get yourself another brush. Use nothing but, it's clear, see, but it's actually got mineral spirits on it. And you can take that and you can actually erase off of other dried painting the full paint that you put on there. Like so. So as this is cut down and that one's going over, then you've got your gap over here for this one. That's going to be really dark because, you know, there'll probably be another wash that goes over that. But that's the way to correct a mistake. If you make it on if you got stuff that's already dry, pretty simple. We'll do it again from time to time until, and I'll probably show it in another video, because we're going to be doing some educational videos as well on different techniques. But like right here, where it meets here on top, there's got to be a gap. So that it doesn't look like it's a part of this piece here. We'll do the same thing on this side over here. That way we can tell that it's separate from each one, okay? And what happens is when you got these little gaps where it starts to run up in here because you've got some divots, you can take that and run that in there, because it's not perfect wood, it's old wood. So, you know, you can make your gaps in there. To show it's been pushed up in there and you got gaps in there, and we'll take some brown and go right along that edge as well to kind of make it a little bit rounded, because we don't want you know, like these gaps. Watch. Take and bring these gaps in here. That way you can tell that there's, you know, different pieces of wood. It makes it, it pulls them away from each other, but it's all part of one process, okay? Now, we're also going to do that when we do it this way, so that we're not making it look like one piece of wood is any different than the other. Let's put that color on here. This way. Make sure you follow with the grain of the wood when you're doing this. Let's see, I got some. Don't know when I got that on there, but it dried on there. So let's get rid of that. you're going to find hairs on your painting. If you scratch it and it makes it look white, don't worry about it, because I'm going to be going back in here and that's going to disappear. Now, so that you're not getting blinded by my outstanding beauty here, I know how much y'all just love looking at my nostril hairs there. What's going to happen now is that this is an old piece of wood. There is no such thing as a perfectly square old piece of wood. Okay, so we are going to kind of chunk it up a little bit. You know how old antiquers will take a new piece and they'll whack it everything and, you know, make dents and stuff in it to make it look older. We're doing that with paint. Okay, so along with our dagger brush, which is what we've been using, this is a dagger brush. Okay, it is simply got that nice little rounded edge on it. Point, you can get a thin point, you can get a broad stroke from the side. You can curve with it. These are great brushes. This one happens to be a 3/8 inch dagger brush. They make them in all sizes, but we're going to go with something a little bit bigger. This is also a 5/8 inch. It's or 16 millimeter, and it's not an expensive brush. This I actually picked up at a Hobby Lobby, but it's got the bristles on it. Is what I like the best, is because they're not super stiff, but they're stiff enough, and they can carry a lot of paint while we're doing this. So, divots and chunks. You'll see that I made a divot up here on this one, but you can get creative with this. You got to bring it down on both sides. It does not have to be any certain length, any certain pattern, and you take a chunk out of the wood. Okay, and you're just going to do that in several spots. You can do it several different ways. You can make it look like something's been ripped out, like there's a piece that's been hacked on the side. And we're just going to indicate where these things are, okay, because we want them to be somewhat natural looking. Okay, you see right in here where we added this one in, and then this one. And another little thing that you can do with these is like where this one's ripped off and you got a start right here, you can actually run a line up into your wood. Take yourself a soft bristled brush and just gently, with 3 hairs in air, just barely touch the outside edge of that. And you make it look like you got a splintered piece. Okay? Now for the center pieces, center divots, like if we wanted to make a knot hole, okay? Knot holes are round, but you got to remember, this is sitting at an angle. You can define your knot hole Take your blender and just soften it out a little bit. Barely touching the canvas. Got a hair right there. There we go. That's just the first part of your knot hole. Okay. Now there's going to be some darker spots, and to do that, I'm just going to take my dagger brush with some black, and I'm going to put in the deep spots of this knot hole. There's no such thing as a perfect knot hole. Every one of them looks different. Every one of them has its own little quirks and twists. Okay. Same blender brush. Just soften it up a little bit. Not a whole lot. And then you're going to have to find your lighter color, which instead of using my same dagger brush, I'm just going to use a number 3 angle brush. And then you can go in and add your little highlights to your wood. And I'm just tapping when I do this. Okay. Are these the bright highlights? No, they're not. Sorry, I had a noise outside. I had to take a look. But just you're just tapping to bring in the rough pieces of your knot hole. And they are kind of an eyelet, so you want to make sure that you're bringing that eyelet up with your highlight. And don't forget about the bottom part either, because you don't want the wood to circle around the knot hole. However you want it to go. Once again, your blender brush, barely 3 hairs in an air, or 3 hairs and air, as they say. What was it? Bob Ross used to say that, I think. 3 hairs in air. You see any spots that need to be brought up a little bit? Bring them up. And there, you got yourself a knot hole. Okay, we'll get a good close up of that. And you can expand on it if you want. When you go out, you can take some more of your dark and find out where your vein is and come in around. Same way on the other side. Like I said, when we're using this, it's just barely touching the canvas. You're not trying to wipe the paint off. You're just trying to get it to go back and forth and set itself in place. And basically, that's how you make your novel. Pretty simple, huh? Now, as far as the rest of this log goes, we're going to add some more chunk places onto the outside of it, because I want it to look old and weathered. Just remember, don't make too many equal intervals. Now on the other side, because we're going to see more highlight on that, we're going to not use as much dark, because this is the dark side. We're going to use more of a lighter color to do the same thing to this side over here. Okay, but let's make some veins in the middle of this. Because this wood is never perfect. We want some deep veins in here. Because we're going to want to make it look weathered. And if it's going to look weathered, it's going to have some erosion where it goes down in. Okay, let's pull it back even more. Turn the handle the right way, old man. And let's see what we can come up with here. And I'll show you a neat trick here in just a minute. More liquid on here. Of course, it's getting a little hard to drag. All right, now we're going to take our lighter color, not the bright white color or the light color, but the lighter color, and we are going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it close to where we made these black marks. Okay. Get the goobers off. Picked up some of my darker paint. We don't want that. Just want my lighter tone. Some spots. Now, the little magic thing I was going to show you. Get that brush cleaned out before the liquid sets up in it. Let's see, I need a smaller brush that is soft bristled. This is actually a watercolor brush, but they're really soft bristled and they make great for blending. Okay, so what you do is where the dark and the light meet, you just brush along the edge to make a smooth transition between the two. Just do that with each one of these, because I don't want this to be the super focal point of this painting. Now, if it's going to be the focal point, you're going to want some sharp edges, but I don't want this to be the focal point for this, so I want it to be a little more subdued. We want some divots in there, okay, but I don't want this to get rid of that white area. In here, I don't know what caused that white, but we're going to diminish that to where it is gone. Just like so. Maybe. Alright, let's get that taken care of. Like I said, you can fix anything in a painting. So do not think that your paint or painting is destroyed by a simple small mistake, because you can bring it back to where you want it at any point in time. Do not overblend everything, because if you do, it's going to look like a cartoon. All right, so as we showed, we went through a lot of these, like the knot hole, putting some of the scar marks on the corners. We're going to do the same thing up here in a couple places. We're going to do some on this side here, and that way it'll look more like it's been there for a little while. I'm not going to make it look like it's so ancient that it's falling apart, because that's not the way I intended the painting. But I don't want it to be perfect. I want it to be a little more realistic as to, it's been there for a while. It's got some deep gashes. You see the where it's been recessed because of weather. Let me pull back here a little bit. to get a better image of the painting itself. Let me adjust this a little bit. All right. So there we go. So as you can see, the way the painting looks now, the wood looks like it's got some weathered spots in it, to where, you know, it's got some gaps, some age cracks, things in there. Does it look hyper realistic? No, but it's not meant to be hyper realistic. I don't want this piece to be the focus of the painting. The focus is right here. And if you notice, I told you we keep a 2/3, 1/3 proportion. On this third right here in this line, we've got the lion's face. That's where the main focus is going to be. This is going to be the bright warm that's going to come out. This is going to have some cooler highlights on it, kind of like the little bit of light that's on the stones. So we're going to put those in there, and we're going to put a little highlights here and there on the rest of these surfaces where it might catch some of that reflection a little bit. And then we'll make sure that this is substantially darker. We'll put another wash on this to take it down into the shadows a little bit more, because we want it to blend in with the background and things of that nature. This will still have some shadow on it, but not as heavy. You know, we're going to arrange the shadowing around here so when the light is coming down on top of the lion, that we're getting some circular type event on top of here of the highlights. Okay, and when it comes to this little piece here, it's going to be darker, and some of the areas around that will be darker. All right, because we want to show that the light is hitting, but you know, you get some of that, like putting a light bulb over top of your kitchen table. You got a real bright spot, and it goes out, and you got some smaller spots. Okay, but next time we're going to start to work a little more on the lion, and then as we get into it, we're going to let me get it over here where I can point with my right hand. When we start working on this lion and get some more detail in it, and we realize where the light's going to hit and the distance between the two, we'll see exactly where that arc's going to be. This may be a lot darker. You know, we just have some light down here at this bottom section here. A little bit of reflective quality right there on that leading edge, but since it's tilted, it's not going to be too much. We may hit a couple highlights on this, but it's not going to be anything dramatic, okay? Because we want to show where the light comes from, and we want to show how it comes out. But it's mainly going to be on this lion. You can tell there's distance between the lion and the cross. Even though his paws are probably up close to this, it's not on top of it. So we're going to put the main focus of the light right on top of the lion's head, and we'll bring some darker spots down here below. And as we do that, we're going to use washes to accomplish that. Because we want that concept of a holy light coming down. There's going to be shadows in here, and we're going to get a little bit of reflection, not much, and this will become more part of the background than a main focus. This is a secondary focus. We don't want it to be a primary. Brighter and bolder, lighter warm tones, more cool tones. Okay, so that way you're not taking the focus away from the main subject of the painting. But I appreciate you all being here. It's an ongoing adventure on the King Returns. You know, it's a large painting. It takes a little while to get these to the point where I consider them to be done. So I hope to see you back in, and real appreciate you being here. If you like it, please do so by hitting the like button. If you feel like subscribing, please subscribe. If not, that's okay. We're trying to build a family of friends, and I had to make sure my mic was on. We're trying to build a family of friends here that like art and want to share art with other people. So if you like it and you think it's something somebody else would like, then please, by all means, just share it with them so that they can get enjoyment of seeing art being created. And, it's something that can be for everybody. I do this because I'm going into retirement, and this is my passion. This is how I keep myself purposeful in life, and I want to be able to spread the love of art to everyone that I can. So, I'm just a simple Kentucky boy, and that's the reason I call this, North Kentucky Heartland Art, because Kentucky is where we are, and it is a heartland that is full of beautiful art, beautiful animals. And once we get done with this, we'll start back into some more of the Kentucky wildlife, which is, the main thing that I like to do. Whether it's a bird or whether it's an animal, we're going to paint some more of what this beautiful state has to offer. And we may throw another landscape or two in there, along the way. So please join me on this continuing journey of spreading art throughout the world. And please share it with anybody that might get the enjoyment out of it. And remember, may God bless you. May He keep you. May He give you everything that you could possibly need and some wants along the way. Take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. And God bless you. Take care. And I'll see you in the next video.